this diary.
Hello everybody, I am back again with Polymer Clay. I am learning how to make flower canes in this video. Now it's going to be rough because I am still learning, but you'll see at the end. So first I just picked out my colors, some that I thought would go together to finally come out and make a great flower. Some of these colors I'm going to use. I think one of them I don't use, but we'll see. So I'm just rolling out this white clay and making sure that it's like even and all tight and all the air bubbles are out of it. Again, if you are an expert with clay, remember that I am learning. So if you see something wrong, you have to excuse me. So I'm cutting it out into even slices so that they can be like the stalk part of the flower. And I'm going to roll these out each evenly and make sure there's no air bubbles in them once again. And I chose the red just because red is a pretty color for one, and I thought that it would contrast, of course, well, anything really would contrast against white, but I just thought red was a good choice. So I'm rolling the white pieces in the red clay, and I put this red clay through my clay machine, I think on a number 2 if I'm not mistaken. Might be a number 3. This was a while ago, so I don't really remember between then and me doing this voiceover, but I think that was a number 2 on the clay machine, which I've since learned that is pretty thick for what I was trying to do. So I'm cutting that out, and I'm going to repeat that for all of the white stalks. And now I have little pieces that are going to be like the vein of the leaf. And I'm also doing those in red. And I'm kind of pinching them so that they are somewhat of a triangle shape by pressing down on the table and pinching. And I'm just making sure, I caught myself making sure everything was even. And you'll see when I get finished, it still ended up everything not being even. So what I do with these is I take the red pieces that I already wrapped and slit them down the middle with my cutter. And then open it up, and we will put a piece of the red clay in the middle. I'm sorry for being off frame, but you'll see. Put it in the middle and close it back up and make sure there's no air bubbles in it. And that is going to be the base of the flower. And roll it, just to close it up. Make sure the ends are meeting. And that is how it looks. So I have all of them done and ready to go. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay it on the table again and pinch it to try to get it not so much a triangle, but a somewhat petal shape, as you see here, which was pretty good for my first try. So I'm finished with all of them now, and I chose the orange to be like the middle stalk of the flower. I probably should have chose green, but I did the orange, and I'm attaching each one of the petals to that piece of orange clay. And one of them got out of shape, so I tried to turn it back around. This making canes, I see, is very, very hard. So I'm trying to put it on there correctly so it actually looks like a flower and some of the petals aren't too close to each other. But at the end of the day, even if they were, it's nature, and every flower in nature isn't perfect. Isn't perfectly, petaled and everything, which you see here. I'm not perfectly petaled there. So I've done that, and now I've taken more red pieces because I need to fill in the gaps in between each petal. So I'm going to do that really quickly. And now that I have them all together, I'm just making sure that they're kind of sort of straight. And I am going to roll them out and press them to try to get some of the air out of the middle. But you don't want to press too hard. It may look like I'm pressing hard, but I'm really not. But you just want to get some of the air out. You see, I still have places where there are gaps, but I'm going to work that out. And now that I have everything basically where I want it, and this is part of the place where I made my mistake. I was pressing too hard right there, and some of the flowers got misshapen, but it was okay, but they were a little misshapen. So I'm rolling it up into this green clay that I rolled out on the clay machine, and I am going to then start reducing this to make it look like the flower that I want to use. And again, this is another part where I started to press a little bit too hard on the flower petals, so they were getting misshapen. But again, every flower in nature is not shaped perfectly, and that's what makes them beautiful. So now I'm just continuing to reduce this as far down as possible because I would like this flower in different shapes. And I'm just pressing it, making sure that there is no air in the middle. Just working it out and rolling it, making sure it all comes together nicely and keeps that flower shape. So now I'm going to cut it because I want one that size. And I'm going to take one of those and roll it out again to make it a little bit smaller than the first, just so I can have different sizes. And then I'm going to make this very small one that I have right here. So I have 3 different sizes of the flower, which at this point it no longer looks like a flower. But the wonderful thing about working with clay is your project is never really messed up because it was handmade by you. Even if the flower didn't come out right, it can always be used as something else, as you see me doing here. So this cane would not be a perfect flower cane because it ended up being a little disfigured. But just because it was disfigured doesn't mean it's not usable. So what I'm doing now is I'm laying it out. No pattern in mind. I just sliced off some pieces of the largest cane, and now I'm rolling it out just to flatten it a little bit. And you see as I roll it out, even though it was made as a flower cane, it actually turns into something else and a new pattern. The flowers kind of disappear, but it's still a beautiful little pattern going on. So I took out my fondant cutters to see what shapes I could cut out of this clay. And see, this is the thing that you can use your canes from, whether they come out perfect or not. You can always find something to make them into. So I'm cutting out just a few little pieces just because I wanted to test to see what it looked like and what I could do with them. And after you get through cutting these little pieces, they can be made into earrings, they can be made into a necklace. You can use them to cover a cabochon, or you can use them to cover even a wood box, or so many things that you can use these pieces for. Or you could have not brought out your cutters at all and used that sheet as a veneer or something to add to another jewelry project or anything. There's just so many things that I'm learning that you can do with polymer clay. And see, I cut this out as a flower. No, it doesn't look like a flower, but you never know what you might want to put this little cut out on. There's a heart, and you see how the pattern changed into something totally different once they were cut. And it's something that started out that I wanted to be a flower. But that's my polymer clay play for today. I hope you enjoyed watching me make this flower cane. I hope to share more canes that will be more skillfully put together in the future. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.